This morning's guest is American by birth, but she's Southern by the grace of God. Meet her, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at family-owned and operated Ace Hardware between 76th and 79th Avenues in Myrtle Beach on North Kings Highway. We're focused on the United Daughters of the Confederacy, and we're visiting with a past president of the local chapter in Florence, Ann Powell. Good morning,
Good
Ann.
to see you, Greg.
Thank you so much for coming in early on a Tuesday morning.
Well, I'm happy to be in a hardware. Most women like hat shops and shoe shops, and I like hardware, so I'm happy to be here.
I think you mentioned you had some family connections. Did your brother?
My brother-in-law had a wonderful hardware in Hartsville, South Carolina.
Is that right?
And
yes.
so when I attended Coker College, I'd stop by the hardware and look around, and I just loved it, And I want to thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk about my organization.
Of course.
There's a lot of organizations now, as you know, but we've been around so long that I sometimes think people forget about us and think maybe we're just a group of women sipping tea and living in the past, and we're not. We're alive and well and have many young members.
I was going to
need more.
You recruit young members and you need more.
Yes.
How do y'all normally go about recruiting members?
Well, we have a website.
Right.
And we have the headquarters is in Richmond, Virginia.
Great.
And you can write, and that's how we got our president of our chapter now.
Yeah.
She contacted Richmond, and they contacted us, our chapter.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. I think I saw that's in 31 states now.
Yes.
Almost.
And maybe more. That was through the 90s. I didn't get an update on that.
Right,
that was through the 90s, mid-90s.
And the website has tremendous information. I went there early this morning and pulled off some of it. I believe.
Well, then you have it. www.hqudc.org.
That's exactly right. And there's a great picture of the President General up there now, who's serving her term from 2006 to 2008. The HQ headquarters, udc.org.
And
that's a great location. I'm glad to hear you promote that number. They also have an 804 number there in Richmond. If a viewer is not familiar with the internet, doesn't go online often, and wants to learn more about the United Daughters of the Confederacy, what's that 804 number?
804-355-1636.
1636. Now, you're promoting a website. Do you go online a lot, Ann?
No, I'm a conscientious objector sometimes to the 21st century. I don't want a bunch of emails on my desk and all that sort of thing, So I'll let everybody else do that. But anyway, and I'd like to give the address if they want to write.
Sure,
UDC headquarters. It's Memorial Building.
Okay.
And it's 328 North Boulevard.
328 North Boulevard.
Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
23220.
23220. Okay. And that is wonderful. So if someone wanted to write just to get some more information about the UDC, and I'm sure they'd happily send it out.
They would.
Picking up a phone's very easy. If a viewer right now wanted to call, they could leave a message at the 804-355-1636. Or if they want to take the time to go online, they can go to www.hqudc.org. Very easy. That's wonderful. Ann, what a treat to get you in.
Well, you just don't know how happy I'm to have this opportunity, because we have 5 objectives. We have a patriotic, a benevolent, an educational, a historical, and a memorial. And if you don't mind, let me read what that involves.
Okay.
It involves to honor the memory of those who served and those who fell in the service of the Confederate States, to protect, preserve, and mark the places made historic by Confederate valor, to collect and preserve material for a truthful history of the war between the states, to record the part taken by Southern women in patient endurance of hardship and patriotic devotion during the struggle and in untiring efforts after the war during the Reconstruction.
Right.
To fulfill the sacred duty of benevolence toward the survivors and toward those dependent upon them. To assist descendants of worthy Confederates in securing proper education. and to cherish the ties of friendship among the members of the organization.
That's fantastic.
May I skip to the education?
Oh, and Ann, folks are more interested in you than hearing about they really want to hear about you and what got you involved.
Well, what got me involved is that my grandfather was 15 years old when he served.
Is that right? Age 15?
Age 15,
wow.
And he was in Marion County, Marion District, they call it.
Right.
My grandmother was the same age in Columbia and watched Sherman burn all around her. And one of her relatives purchased drugs up north in Philadelphia and they were instructed, Sherman's men were instructed not to burn their house. I don't know, they burned all around them. And so it's in my blood.
Yes,
it's in my blood.
That it is.
I grew up hearing stories and fairy tales from my mother, but I also heard, and it was her father.
Right.
I also heard the stories of the wall and the Reconstruction.
That's
and
fascinating.
So that's,
of course, in there it used that word true history, and I know that's a big issue oftentimes when talking about the UDC. Is there a similar organization? Is there a Sons of the Confederacy?
Yes, there is.
Right.
And I want to say we work closely with the Sons. They help us so much. And also, you have to be 16 years old and a blood descendant of a Confederate veteran who has served in the Army, Navy, or civil service, or somebody who gave material aid to the Confederacy.
Yes,
they are eligible, and you have to have proof of that ancestry.
Right.
But we have been working. I think it's important all these years, and it's such an old honor that we have been working all along. In going back to education, we give granting aids, awards to the military academy, the Naval Academy, the Merchant Marines, VMI, the Citadel. We are just doing something all the time.
That's fantastic.
And education is so important because after the war, the schools were just in ruin.
Torn up.
Just ruined. Some of them completely disappeared. Some prominent Southerners went north and asked for money to start. And if Robert E. Lee hadn't taken over Washington D.C., I don't know what would have happened. But he, they admired him enough to help that college, begin.
Real quick about yourself, Ann. You said you grew up in Marion, but now live in
Florence.
In Florence, although you have deep ties to the Horry-Georgetown County line. Is that
where
you
do?
live? Are you in Horry or Georgetown?
I went to Coker College with 22 Conway girls.
Yes,
and I love Conway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I've got to go and see all the improvements, that had been made.
That's right.
All the Riverwalk.
We filmed there week before last.
Did
at the
you?
Haberdashery and the Blackwater Market, right between Laurel and Fourth Avenue. It was wonderful being over there. And then last Thursday, Russell Fowler, who's a Conway native, was a guest on our show here on Carolina People last Thursday, and did a great job talking about Conway. I think his middle name, as I wrap that interview up, should be Conway. He's got deep roots there.
Well,
so you're a graduate of Coker College.
Yes, and I went really to college. I thought at first I went to study, but after I got there, I was having such a good time. I decided I went there to have a good time.
Yeah.
So in your annual, your senior year, they always have something nice to say about you, about your record and your achievements and everything. And it was sort of blank when they came to me, and so they put "She loves Marion" and under my name.
Yeah.
And so that's what my accomplishment was, to continue to love Marion.
I love it. I love it.
And you can't explain it. You can't explain it. I mean, everybody says it's just like every other little southern town, but it's really not. It's really not.
You still have family in Marion?
No.
Not a soul. Not a
soul. The house is still there.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes.
And
so you found a little triangle here, born in Marion, live in Florence now, but have deep ties to Murrell's Inlet. And so you literally have that nice little triangle there.
It really is.
Yeah,
and people in Marion loved Murrell's Inlet. My Aunt Addie used to go come in a horse and wagon and stop at Socastee at what they call Peachtree Ferry.
Yeah.
Spend the night, then cross on the ferry, and the next day get to Murrell's Inlet. And she stayed at Oliver's Lodge when old Captain Oliver and Miss Oliver ran we'd call it a bed and breakfast now, but it was called a boarding house
Right,
then,
right.
and stayed there. And once you get your feet and toes in that mud at Merle's Inlet, you're never the same. You either like it or you don't like it. Now, I had a sister that loved it, but the other family didn't stuck with it. But you just do. And it's just, you can't talk about marrying without bringing Merle's Inlet in.
You're right,
Because the Bucks from Pennsylvania and the Wilcoxes, Sis Peterkin, you know what I'm talking about?
Of course,
Her mother
sure.
was a Wilcox
Yes,
and married.
right.
It comes to that demand, and there were so many people at one time that owned property at Merle's Inlet for Marion. They named that little section near Sunnyside Little Marion.
Is that right? I don't think I've ever heard that, but I know that Charlie Spaff.
Oh, God, I'll tell you a lot of things you haven't heard.
Absolutely. We like it. So you've had a home in Merle's Inlet for how long?
Since 1953.
Is that
right? Before
the
Hazel
same
struck.
Home? Yeah.
In 54.
Right,
54.
sure. Was your house damaged by Hazel?
Yes, it was. And it was a little store. And
your home had formerly been a little
store. And so it's a long building. And I had it moved back after Hazel. And up a little, but not as high as some of them. And so we went through Hazel. And you just can't imagine. There were whole houses floating in the creek. Stoves, refrigerators, everything. It wasn't that way after Hugo, but it was pretty bad. But in Hugo, the house split, and a good contractor came and you had a Humpty Dumpty and put the house back together, and he put my house back together.
Is that right? And it's remained intact since then, since 54?
Such as it is,
That's fascinating. Do you get out into the water much?
Oh, yes, and I swim in the creek.
Do you
and
really?
Everybody just, they have horrible looks at you go in that creek. It's wonderful, that salt water.
Yeah.
And you can't drown at Merle's Inlet.
How often do you get out in there, Ann?
All right, last week I went twice. When I finish here today, see, you have to go by the tide.
It's 7 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, so you're going to be heading out there?
Yeah. I'm going.
Right?
Yeah, after I leave here, I'll have something, and then I'm going in the creek.
That's fascinating.
There's a favorite spot on Sunnyside in front of this house that we used to gather, and I'm the only one gathering there now. Most of them are gone, but anyway, the families that are still there do.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to swim in the creek. Swimming pools are fine, but there's nothing like the creek. Have you ever been in the creek?
I bet you have. Swam in there. No, I don't.
Salt water, you can't drown. It just bubbles, and it's just enough waves and a good breeze, and look up at the sky and the birds and that marsh.
That is fascinating.
Nothing like
I'm going to have to talk to my uncle who lives on the very southern end down on Oree Drive. I think I mentioned to you in a home that.
Well, now where do you live? I
live in Myrtle Beach, actually.
Oh,
but
you do?
I have a home there in Merle's Inlet, the exact opposite end of the inlet of your home, right before Business and Bypass merge back together. I love that area. But I am a new to the area, unlike your time there since '53. Do you have family here in the area, Ann?
No, not really.
Oh, no.
My brother died in March, and so I'm the last one. I was the youngest, and I knew that would probably happen, but it's a strange feeling to be the last surviving.
That is fascinating. Wow. Well, I think I saw you had some time there at the University of Georgia. Did you get your master's in library science?
Library education, they called it, because I work with school libraries.
Right.
And it's a little different than public libraries.
Okay, sure.
But it was a grand experience. It really was.
Yeah.